Hello my friends, so I welcome all of you, almost 101,000 star seeds, light workers and wanderers to this session. And in today's session, I have channeled the Galactic Federation in order to ask about 3 questions in particular. The first question is about who was really behind the earthquake in Turkey. If you have seen, it is everywhere on social media, the recent earthquake in Turkey, and I send prayers to Turkey. If anyone is watching from Turkey, I am sending you love and light. And in the session, Galactic Federation discuss how it happened and why it's happening. Also, they talk about the 75,000 year cycle, and you will understand when you listen to the session what they are talking about. And also the Galactic Federation answer the second question which I had placed today, which primarily relates with the understanding of difference between dimension and density, because I have always wanted to know what is the difference between dimension and density, and many of you also, I think, were confused. So in this, they have explained it beautifully in a simplified manner. So hopefully you'll understand what is the difference between a dimension and a density. And that will allow you to truly understand the deeper essence of the meaning when we refer to dimension and density. Furthermore, at the end of the session, they reveal a method which will allow us to enter the 5th density vibration, and the method is amazing. I mean, it is mind-blowing and so amazing that it will help you to not only reach into that newer level of ascension, but if you apply it, basically your life will change for the better. So I hope you'll enjoy the session, and before the session begins, I want to say a big thank you to all of you who have got the paperback version of my sessions. If you want to read it in a book format, you can get it. The link is on the description. And thank you to all of you for liking the video, because it helps to reach out to other star seeds, light workers and wanderers at this time. Enjoy, my friends.
We are the Galactic Federation, and we are now in communication through this instrument, who has opened up its connection channel to connect with our vibration. Furthermore, we are now going to address the queries that have been placed today. However, we must state that the queries are in order in the mind complex of this instrument to be addressed, for allowing the human consciousness to absorb the information that acts as pointers rather than the object sought, pointing to the core of the truth that is being sought here through this instrument's connection. We, the Galactic Federation, must also warn each entity who shall listen to our thoughts to only accept those thoughts that resonate deeply with the inner heart of the self, and leave behind those thoughts that do not resonate with the inner heart of the self, of the various mind, body, spirit complexes who shall come in contact with our message today. The first query pertains to what was the cause behind the earthquakes that occurred in the location known as Turkey by your people. and if there were any involvement by the so-called negatively oriented entities, we must now state that the so-called events that occurred in the location of Turkey was the first of a few major events that will happen and will act as a signal to the new emerging energies that will allow the Earth to enter fully into the new Earth planet. The first is the energy balancing system of the Earth planet will release all the negative karmic imbalances in the form of such types of events, of distortions which may be considered as a release of energy in the bodily complex of the Earth bodily complex, for Gaia is also a type of entity of a similar to that of the human entities, and will have to release any kind of excess karmic imbalance as the end of the cycle of 75,000 year comes to an end, and the new 75,000 year cycle of the new Earth fourth density begins. This new Earth cycle comes to a start exactly from the year 2030, as the new Earth will begin completely from the timeline. Hence, up to that point, there will be many such events. However, some events may not be of such a positive nature. We must also state that the plights of the mind-body-spirit complexes on the location of Turkey is not of a positive outlook as sensed by us. This was unplanned and unprepared release of energy, vibration in that location, which caused many entities to feel this type of distortion. Furthermore, we must also state that the main cause was not emerging from any extra dimensional negative entities as sought in the query. Hence, this was a karmic imbalance release of negative vibrations that were stored in excess, that resultantly will allow a new form of consciousness stream to emerge in the Earth planet. This transformation may sometimes be in the form of such release of excess energy, in the form of earthquakes, floods, etc. However, we must state that this was unplanned and untargeted, meaning it wasn't targeted at the entities who were living in the location of Turkey, but it was just a form of energy release. We, the Galactic Federation, furthermore request all the entities who shall receive this transmission to take few moments of silence and connect with the infinite intelligence in order to send love and light energies to the location known as Turkey, in order to allow the entities who reside upon it to receive the required love vibrations for healing of the self. Furthermore, we shall also state that the changes into the new Earth may be considered as birth pangs or pains that will eventually lead to the emergence of the new Earth in the long run, which has already started to show its effects on the planet's vibratory systems. Therefore, it may be a signal of more such types of events that may be fast approaching the Earth planet. Furthermore, especially in the next 7 years, the changes of the coming of the new 75,000-year cycle will require the ending of the old systems, and many entities will leave the planet as a sign of the coming new Earth. Furthermore, we shall now address the second query which has been placed today, which relates with the understanding of differences between density and dimension, especially how are there beings who exist in the higher dimensions such as 8th, 9th or above dimensions as known by your people, when the number of density in the localization of the universal complex is fixed at 7th density consciousness. We shall now address this query in the simplest possible expression in terms of your planetary language terms. That vibratory sound complex known as density, as used by your people, refers to the so-called compactness or mass per unit volume of a third density substance or material object. In space and time, it is a physical property that is expressed as the amount of mass per volume in an object or materialized aspect of third density. However, when we refer to density, we refer to the compactness of consciousness or awareness within a being or a spiritual complex that resides in all mind-body-spirit complexes. This means that a third density being has achieved less compactness of consciousness within itself as compared to that of the fourth density being, and so on. The higher the density, the more compact the consciousness or self-awareness is. Furthermore, as per our understanding, it is vitally important that many entities understand that the compactness of consciousness increases by an exponential number of 7 to the power of 7 in each sub-density level of awareness increase. In each single level of sub-density increase, also the so-called maximum level for greater understanding of the level that can be achieved in the space-time illusion universal complex is the 7th density consciousness. Now, we shall express the simple meaning of the term dimension as known by your people, that refers to the size or the magnitude of a material object in a particular direction. Furthermore, in this study of the so-called physics of your planet, this term refers to the 3 dimensions such as length, width, and height. Therefore, to summarize, density is a measure of consciousness per unit volume of an entity, whereas dimension is a measure of a size in a particular direction. For example, a second density entity who has no knowledge of the self can also exist in higher dimensions, such as the 8th, 9th, and the 10th and above densities. Dimension consciousness, because dimension is not related with its spiritual consciousness. Therefore, all those entities who are existing in the higher dimension spaces can also be entities from any density of consciousness. Therefore, we must state that, in terms of spiritual knowledge, the term density is a more accurate representation of the self-awareness of a mind-body-spirit complex entity. We shall now address the final query that relates with a simple method which will enable each entity on the Earth planet to reach the level of enlightenment that can be equated with the fifth density level of wisdom. This exercise involves the folding of the conscious spiritual complex that gives rise to all thought forms or images, and any other expression in the space-time experience of each entity. This means that the spiritual complex is like the so-called whiteboards, wherein anything can be written or anything can arise. This whiteboard is the conscious presence that exists prior to thinking or images in the mind complex. This whiteboard is usually folding inward in the shape of the bodily complex. However, if desired, it can be folded in any direction with the intention of doing so in the experience of the self. This means that the conscious presence of the one infinite creator can be folded out of the bodily complex into a single point, and focus or observation can then be conducted from that point. For example, if you were to intend on folding your stream of consciousness or spiritual complex outside your bodily complex in the opposite direction of the location of your body, as stated in the previous session by the Pleiadians through this instrument, then the so-called stream of attention will not be available to be used by your mind-body complex, which can create unwanted thought forms. Furthermore, an observation point from the opposite direction of where your consciousness stream is now located can lead any entity to become aligned with the essence of the true spiritual connection with the ever-present divine consciousness of the one infinite creator, thus freeing the self from unwanted thought forms. This can also act as a switch that can allow any entity to enter the state of enlightenment when this exercise is practiced. This can be considered as a on-off switch, which means when the exercise is being performed, it may be considered as the off switch for the mind complex, and when the exercise is not done, it may be considered as the on switch, which implies that the consciousness stream can be used by the mind complex at any time. Hence we, the Galactic Federation, now leave you beloveds in light and love of the one creator. Bye.
So my friends, now I'm going to share with you what the Galactic Federation explained in the session. Basically, what I learned from the session is that the events which happened in Turkey primarily, happened because of the karmic imbalance in the Earth's energy field. So there was a lot of negative karma, I believe, which was stored inside the energy body of Mother Earth. And they said that Earth is like us. Earth is like a human being or a organism who has energy centers, and because too much negative karma was attached, it has to be released before the end of the 75,000 year cycle. So as far as I understood, the 75,000 spiritual cycle is coming to an end in the year 2030. And from 2030, the new 75,000 year cycle will, I believe, begin. And that will be the beginning of the new earth, or the fourth density vibration. And basically in the session, that's what I understood. So it is a release of karmic energy, and it was not targeted at Turkey. It automatically happened. It was unplanned. So from the session, I learned that it was not created by any negative entity, but it was a natural release of the Earth's energy karmic imbalance. And also what they have said is this can happen in other locations. So I think we need to be very careful for the next I believe we have 7 years in our hand until 2030, because Earth's karmic energy will release, and it could lead to such types of events. So together I think we can also help release such negative karma by not adding to it, by not adding negative emotional states, by not adding negative thought forms, by not adding anything negative, because anything negative will accumulate as negative karma, and that will be stored in the Earth's body. So I believe like this is the release of karma or karmic imbalance which was experienced recently. And the other portion of the query related with dimension and density. So I'm going to explain to you. Basically what they said is like density is refers to the compactness of a consciousness inside a certain location, inside a particular being. So for example, if you consider yourself as a being, then you have a certain density, and density is comprised of the denseness or the amount of consciousness which is stored inside your body. So basically each of us, we have a certain density which is the amount of consciousness we have inside ourselves. The higher the density, the more the consciousness is able to be stored. So as we enter into the fourth density, fifth density, the more consciousness we will have, okay? And it makes a lot of sense, because as we enter into the fourth density, we will become a part of the social memory complex. Therefore, we will be able to handle more consciousness. It logically makes sense what they're saying. And dimension refers to the size of an object or the size of a being. So what they said is, it doesn't matter what density a being is at. It could be at any dimension. So even a second density being could be at the 10th dimension, because dimension just refers to the size or the shape of an object, okay? So that's what I understood from the session. And finally they shared a simple method which is amazing. I'm even doing it right now. What they said is, it's like a off switch for the mind. So our mind is constantly chattering. To off the switch, we need to take the consciousness away from it, basically by focusing, imagining, or not imagining, but having the intention as if you were conscious of yourself from the opposite direction, and then focus on a single point. So if you do that, like your consciousness will collapse into the single point, and it can no longer be used by the thought forms. Because our thoughts, our vocal cord is like a radio station. It receives thoughts automatically, as you already know from one of my previous sessions. And this will help you to free yourself and to stay in the present moment. And I hope you learned a lot. And if you want to know about your past life, your soul's identity, and any other questions you may have, you can send me an email. The link is on the description. Also, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me on my Patreon, where we have extra sessions. If you want to go in depth with more channeling sessions about spirituality, you can join me over there. And also we do meditations in my Patreon. And I thank all of you for getting the paperback version of my sessions book, if you want to read it in a book format. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, I hope you'll enjoy this video over here. Thank you.